Hey everybody, and welcome to this first lesson in the 1202 course. I imagine you may have chosen me to take you through your 1201. You've passed that, fantastic. Now we're going to be going through the 1202. So in this lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you everything you need to know for your exam about workstation systems, mobile operating systems, the various file system types you need to know about. We'll go through all of those one by one. What vendor lifecycle limitations mean, what each of these mean, and what you need to know specifically about those for your exam, and just some simple concepts about the compatibility concerns between different operating systems, the kind of common sense stuff you need to know for your exam, really. So before we get into that, if you are new here, my name is Matt, and my one goal in this life, the thing I have been put on this planet Earth to do, is help you pass your A+ Core 1 and Core 2 certification. I have helped so many people pass their certifications already. This person says my notes definitely helped them pass their test. This person says they passed and now they're moving on to the Network Plus. This person says they passed their Core 1 just a few minutes before they left this comment, and they're now moving on to the Core 2. And I actually received this email from someone, which I was so excited about. I've taken their name out of it for privacy. But I want to show you what they said, because I think it just makes me happy and gives me warm, fuzzy feelings. They said, "I'm glad I found your channel because for years I've been trying to figure out the most optimal way that I study. With your information, I've been retaining so well that I get imposter syndrome sometimes. So many people tell us to just study, but no one gives a practical breakdown and explanation. Your tips have really done more for me than my entire time in high school. So I'm giving people the opportunity to learn effectively, learn well, and pass the certification without spending like thousands of dollars for unnecessary learning courses. Stick with me. I'm going to get you through your certification just like I got these people through theirs. This person's also moving on to their Core 2 now as well. So that being said, let's get into the first set of information that we need to know for our 1.1 exam objective for Core 2. Let's do it. We're going to start with understanding different types of operating systems. So for your exam, you're going to need to know the difference between 4 different types of operating systems. Functionally, what you're going to need to know is you're going to need to know, 1, if you see a written description of one of these, which operating system are we talking about? And 2, if someone gives you a set of requirements, which operating system should you recommend to them? Okay, so which one is being described, or which one should you recommend based on the requirements being given to you? So we need to know about what an operating system is, first of all. That's like the first step. So essentially, guys, operating system, the central manager of your computer controlling all interactions between hardware components. So it's kind of like the base system that allows you to interact with your hardware. So it manages your files, it runs your applications, it provides a platform for you to interact with the system, okay? Without an operating system, your computer would just be a collection of parts that don't really do a lot. You can't do anything with them. We need an operating system. Fundamentally, that's what you need to know. Now, the 4 you need to know about for your exam are Windows, Linux, macOS, and Chrome OS. You've probably heard of these. You probably somewhat know about them, but we've got to make sure that you can do those things I was talking about at the beginning in relation to questions about these. So let's get into it with Windows. What is Windows? Guys, Windows is the most widely used with a very strong market presence. So that means most people use Windows, which means some good things. There's a very large amount of industry support for Windows because most people use it. So it's going to be very heavily supported. There's also a vast amount of software availability. So if you're on Windows, there's pretty much 100% chance you are going to be able to find some sort of software to do what you need to do. But there are some considerations about Windows, and that is because most people use Windows, it is generally a prime target for attackers because of its popularity. Okay, so popularity is good because it gives us the availability of programs to do everything we need to do, but it also means people are going to more often than not try to target Windows because that's what most people use. So there's a greater surface area of potential targets out there in relation to security. Also, there's a variable quality of hardware drivers there, so you've just got to make sure that you're choosing a hardware driver that is compatible with your system and that is going to work well with your system. But essentially, what you need to know about Windows is that it is widely used. Most people use Windows. It has a lot of industry support. It has a lot of software availability, but because of that wide usage, it is a prime target because most people use it. So most attackers are going to target Windows. Functionally, that's essentially what you need to know. Linux, okay? Linux is what they call an open source operating system. So basically, it's not something that you have to pay for to purchase a license to in order to use. You don't have to go and buy Linux like you have to buy Windows XP, Windows 10, Windows 11. You can just download it for free. It is open source. So it has a wide variety of versions or distributions. It's free, it's cost free, and generally pretty hardware compatible. And there's a large community support network. So this is kind of like Windows, Windows operating system is designed by a team of people who are trying to sell you something. They sell you a finished packaged product. Linux is like this community, open source, developed operating system where people are coming together, writing the code for it, developing it themselves, and then putting it out into the community. And because it's created by a community, there's so many different versions depending on specifically what you're trying to do. This is generally the operating system that you would use if you're going into the cybersecurity space and you're doing penetration testing, because Linux tends to come with a lot of penetration testing type tools. Those cybersecurity type tools are often inbuilt and pre-installed on a lot of Linux distributions. Some considerations are that newer hardware compatibility can be challenging. If there's new hardware that has come out, it might be a bit tricky to find the drivers for that because not as many people use Linux as do Windows or Mac OS. So it can be a bit tricky, but generally for your exam, you need to know Linux is free. It is community created, and there's a large community support network, and it's generally what you would use for cybersecurity type practices. All right, that should be enough for you to be able to answer the questions on your exam. The next thing we need to know is Mac OS. Okay, now you need to have Apple hardware to run Mac OS. All right, Mac OS is Apple's proprietary operating system. It is known for its ease of use and strong security. Easy to use, strong security, and has very tight hardware software integration. So if you think of Apple, you're integrating your iPhone with your iMac, and everything is almost Apple proprietary. Everything is Apple working together. All right. It tends to have higher initial costs and less industry support compared to Windows, but still a decent amount of industry support. So for Mac OS, right, if you're wanting something that can integrate all of your Apple devices, fantastic. If you want something that focuses on ease of use and strong security as well, Mac OS might be the way to go. But it does have that higher initial cost, so that is something to consider too. That should really be enough to answer those questions for your exam. The final one you need to know about is Chrome OS. Now, Chrome OS is Google's browser-centric OS. What does browser-centric mean? It means it's not really utilizing a heavy amount of hardware power in your computer to do what it has to do. Instead, it is using the internet. It's accessing resources on the internet. So that is why Chrome OS is generally installed on things like Chromebooks that are very lightweight, very light to carry around, because they don't need that much hardware inside of them. They generally access cloud-based resources to do what they need to do. Okay, it is built on a Linux foundation, but it is not considered Linux. It is a separate operating system. It's designed for simplicity and minimal overhead. So you want to take your laptop out, do some work on Google Drive, or you want to do some emails, something that's very low intensity but internet based. So students, for example, that just need to access an online university resource, type up a document on Google Docs, things like that. Okay, it runs mostly cloud-based applications. So it's lightweight, it runs mostly on the cloud. That's largely what you would need to know for Chrome OS in order to adequately answer questions for your exam. Some considerations are it generally requires consistent internet connectivity. So if you don't have an internet connection, you're not really going to be able to use this. So that is something worth taking into consideration as well. If you're going into the outback and you don't know how much internet connectivity you're going to have, you're going to want to maybe not use Chrome OS and have something that has the capability to work on your projects offline with your device's own hardware without accessing cloud resources. That's pretty much it, guys. So now let's head into some questions specifically about that dot point. Okay, here's roughly what we've talked about. You can pause and have a read, but that's everything we've talked about here. A brief overview of Windows, Linux, Mac, and Chrome. Let's get into some questions. Read this if you want. You can pause and read it. I'm not going to talk about it because we've already talked about it. It's just a brief summary. Now, the first question that I want to do with you is, which operating system is a free open source software with many different versions and strong community support, but finding drivers for newer hardware can sometimes be difficult? Does that sound like A, Windows, B, Linux, C, Mac OS, or D, Chrome OS? Pause the video if you need more time. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. The answer is B, Linux. Linux is the free open source one. Okay, it is one with many different versions. We talked about it not long ago. Hopefully we still had that fresh in our mind to answer that question. Windows, Mac, and Chrome were not the correct answers. You can pause and read why there, but we recently discussed it. Let's do one more on this particular dot point. Question 5 here reads, a cybersecurity professional is building a new system specifically for penetration testing. They require an operating system that is highly flexible for customizing tools and scripts, provides a secure and isolated environment for testing, and has strong community-driven support for security updates and niche tool development. The professional is budget conscious and wants to avoid any licensing fees. Which operating system is the most suitable choice? A, Windows, B, Linux, C, Mac OS, or D, Chrome OS? Pause the video if you need more time. We're going to go ahead and answer this question in 3, in 2, in 1. Here we go. The answer is, again, Linux. I chose random questions from my learning guide for this one. It looks like I chose 2 of the ones where the answer was Linux. But the key giveaway here, guys, was he's a cybersecurity professional. Already we should be thinking Linux. Already that's what we should be kind of gearing our mind towards there. Okay, again, you can pause and read the explanation here, but I'm going to try to keep this train moving because we have to talk about mobile operating systems. There are 3 that you need to know about. But guys, first of all, operating system, same as for computers, but it is now for the mobile. So pretty much same thing, operating system, but instead of a computer, it's on a mobile phone. That's largely what we need to know. Apple iOS is the first one we need to know about. Again, Apple, just like with macOS, Apple iOS is their operating system for phones. If you got an iPhone, you're using Apple iOS. The key characteristics of Apple iOS is that it is designed exclusively for Apple iPhones. It is proprietary to Apple. It is a closed system fully controlled by Apple. Apple has complete control. Okay, the only people who can use this is Apple. Apps must be approved before appearing in the App Store, so there's a reasonable expectation that if you download an application from the Apple App Store, it is going to be secure and safe, and it is known for its security and consistent user experience, okay? So known for its quite good user experience and high security. That should be enough to get you through the question that I'm about to ask you about these. The next one is Google Android. Now, this is a little bit different. Google Android is used by multiple device manufacturers, Samsung, Google, Pixel, a wide variety. It is open source. We'll see those words pop up a lot throughout this course. Open source, which means basic code is available for modification. You can modify the code of that operating system if you know how and you want to. It has greater flexibility for developers and manufacturers. So if you want that additional flexibility, you might want to go with Google Android, and a wider variety of device options at different price points. So Apple iOS, generally pretty expensive. Google Android, I bought my phone here. It's a Oppo. I got it for $129. All right. You could not do that with an Apple iPhone, but Google Android, really cheap, also really expensive. So it depends on what you want. I'm kind of an old man. I just want a phone that can call and text. That's about it. And I can get that with Android for $129. That's pretty good. You also need to know about iPadOS. So this is Apple's operating system, but not for a phone, for an iPad. So it's specifically designed for a tablet. It's optimized for the larger screen size. It has enhanced productivity. It allows computer-like functionality with keyboard connectivity. So that's a key difference between the iPhone OS and the iPad OS. And then multitasking. So it supports 2 apps simultaneously on the screen at the same time. You can actually have them on the screen at the same time. So if you wanted an OS for an iPad by Apple, you'd have to use iPadOS. Functionally, that's going to be the dead giveaway. The little nitty-gritty details, honestly, you don't need to know much about. The second you see iPad, you know it's going to be iPadOS. It's kind of a giveaway there. Excuse me for a second. Sorry. Okay, so there's a brief overview, but let's get to a question, right? We talked about all of this. The question for this particular dot point that I'm going to ask you reads, which operating system is a tightly controlled, closed source platform that is used exclusively on iPhones? Is it A, iPadOS, B, Apple iOS, C, Google Android, or D, macOS? Pause the video if you need more time. I doubt that you do though. The answer coming in 3, 2, 1. The answer is, of course, Apple iOS. If we're looking for an operating system on an iPhone, it is going to be Apple iOS. Pause and read this if you want, but we just talked about all this. So pause and read if you want to, but I'm going to keep it moving because we have another question. And this question says, a content creator who relies heavily on their mobile device for both work and personal use needs a new smartphone OS that offers a high degree of flexibility for customization, allows for side-loading apps from various sources outside of a single official app store, and is compatible with a wide range of devices from different manufacturers, including their current brand of choice. They also value the freedom of an open source system that can be modified to suit their unique workflow. Which mobile OS is the most suitable for their needs? Is it A, iPadOS? Is it B, Apple iOS? Is it C, Google Android? Or is it D, Windows? Your answer coming in 3. Pause the video if you need to. In 2. Here we go. In 1. This is it. Boom. The answer is C, Google Android. Okay, we just talked about this. Google Android is the one with high level of flexibility. It's more customizable when compared to the Apple iOS. Okay, and of course we wouldn't have chosen iPad or iOS because we're not talking about an iPad. We're talking about a phone. Right? And Windows is for desktop computers, not for phones. That was a trick option. Hopefully we didn't choose Windows. Okay, let's keep it moving and look at the different file system types we need to know about. Guys, you need to know about a lot of different file system types for your exam. And it's unfortunate, but we just need to know about them. I'm going to do my best to explain them in detail here, but this is one area where you might need to really buckle down and study. So far, everything we've covered can be pretty intuitive. This one, if this is all new to you, this is going to be an area where you're going to need to put a little bit of time and effort into. Okay. Now, the first file system type is NTFS. This is Windows Reliable Workhorse. So NTFS is a Windows file type. The key features of this is it offers advanced compression and encryption. It's widely compatible across modern operating systems. It has read and write capabilities on non-Windows platforms as well. But generally, if you're going to be using this, it's because you're on Windows. It's because you have internal drives that require security features. So you're on Windows, you want some level of security, and cross-platform environments with Windows integration. So if you're on a Windows device, the chance that you're using NTFS is incredibly high. That's an easy way to think about it. NTFS is Windows, okay? Keep in mind those features of NTFS, but NTFS is Windows, okay? That's kind of how I want you to think about it. The next one is REFS, which is Microsoft's next generation solution. So Microsoft designed the Resilient File System, REFS, Resilient File System, as an upgrade to NTFS. So this is like NTFS with a little plus icon next to it. It's a little bit more. This one focuses on data integrity and resilience for enterprise environments. So already we can start to see, all right, if I've got a question here, and I've got two options. One is NTFS, one is REFS. Maybe the differentiating factor would be, the question says it's designed for an enterprise environment and it focuses on data security on Windows systems. Now I'm going to know it's REFS, Resilient File System, because it has that data integrity and it is in an enterprise environment. That's going to be two of the main giveaways for this one. So it has self-repair capabilities. It can automatically detect and repair corrupted data, and it is server focused. So primarily designed for server environments with limited desktop support. All right. Can be used on desktops 100%, but like generally think about it. If you're going to want a file system that can check and repair errors to maintain that system integrity, to stop that corrupt data, then you're going to see that a lot on servers. Don't worry too much about that. That could be something that gives it away, but really for REFS, I want you to think about it as if it's a Windows system, if it's wanting additional data integrity, and it's in an enterprise type environment, those are the three things I want you to focus on for REFS. All right. The next one is FAT32. Guys, this is a legacy compatibility champion. I don't know if I'd call it a champion, but it's considered quite legacy. Now, the good things about it is it has broad compatibility. So it is supported by pretty much all operating systems, but it has a 2 terabyte volume limit and a 4 gigabyte file size limit. So what that means is you cannot have a file on that uses this file type that is larger than 4 gigabytes. That's going to be the key giveaway. Okay, so if the question is saying, hey, this can be used on any system, but you can't put on anything that is greater than 4 gigabytes, you're talking about FAT32. Okay, so if you've got a small flash drive or older device and you want to use it you want to take it from a Windows, plug it into a macOS, and you don't need to transfer high size file types, large file types, then FAT32 might work for you. And then ext4, which is a Linux file type. This is the 4th extended file system. When you see ext4, I want you to think about Linux, the default and most common file system for Linux distributions and Android operating systems. So it has good performance and reliability. It has journaling capabilities to prevent data corruption. It has support for large file sizes and volumes. It has limited native support in Windows environments. So look, I'm going to break all that down. Basically, what I want you to think about is if you see ext4, I want you to just associate that with Linux. Fundamentally, that's what I want you to do. ext4, Linux. Call it there. Make it simple and easy. ext always is Linux, okay? The next one is exFS, which is a high-performance Linux solution. Okay, so we know ext4 is Linux, but then we have exFS. So what is this? This is a data center optimized. It's designed for high-performance environments with large storage requirements. High performance, right? That makes sense. Large file handling. So it excels at managing very large files efficiently with minimal fragmentation, and it has journaling protection. So it maintains data integrity through comprehensive journaling capability. So one thing, right, I've kind of given you like the information you need to know, but now if we're thinking about just understanding and remembering this for the sake of an exam, what do we notice between these two? ext4, exFS. ext4, exFS. A simple brain hack could be they both have X in them. So when you are looking at a file type and you see X, I want you to associate that with Linux. ext4, exFS, Linux for your exam. Just think that. And then after you've got that, you just need to remember exFS is the high performance one. So if your question is talking about it's on Linux, and then also it needs some additional high performance capabilities, now you know it's not ext4, it's exFS. Okay, that's kind of how I want you to break that down in your head. The next one you need to know about is APFS, or Apple File System. This is the Apple proprietary file system optimized for all Apple devices, including your macOS, iOS, and iPadOS. It has SSD optimization and enhanced security. Guys, it's simple to break this one down. If you're using an Apple device, you're probably using APFS, and this is an easy one to remember. Apple AP. Apple AP. It's in the letters, right? That one's easy to remember. For your exam, just think if it's about an Apple device, you're using APFS. Then you've got exFAT. Now, this is different from all the others, except for FAT32. This is like FAT32 had an upgrade. So exFAT is usable across a wide variety of operating systems. If you wanted to format a drive to work on a Windows device and a Linux or Mac OS, you'd probably want to go with exFAT, particularly if you want to use large files, right? Because exFAT eliminates those negatives of FAT32. So that means that the inability to use large files is gone because you now can have large file handling. There are no practical file size limits. So you can use exFAT on really across different operating systems, and you can have files as big as you want. So that's what exFAT is. Now, you can have a read of this, kind of a summary of everything we just talked about, but I'm going to get into a question now about what we just discussed. So the question reads, which file system is an older standard with a 4 gigabyte file size limit, making it less suitable for large modern files despite its broad compatibility? Is it A, New Technology File System? Is it B, File Allocation Table 32? Is it C, Extended File System? Or is it D, Apple File System? Your answer coming in 3. Pause the video if you need to. 2. Here we go. 1. This is it. Let's do it. The answer is FAT32, or File Allocation Table 32. So again, remember, FAT32 has that 4 gigabyte file size limit. You do need to know about that. All right, and pause and read if you want to see what the other answers mean in the explanation, but that was the giveaway, the 4 GB file size limit. The next question about this reads, which file system was created by Microsoft specifically for flash drives to overcome the 4 GB file size limit of its predecessor and is highly compatible across different operating systems? Is it A, NTFS? Is it B, FAT32? Is it C, ext4? Or is it D, exFAT? Pause the video if you need to. Your answer coming in 3, in 2, in 1. Here we go. It is D, exFAT. So exFAT, you can use it on a wide variety of OSs and at the same time have files as large as you want. Okay. These other ones, NTFS, A, you would choose that if you were looking at Windows. FAT32, you can use it across multiple operating systems, but it has that 4 GB file size limit. And ext4, that's Linux, and it's the Linux one that does not require that does not need if you don't need that additional high performance functionality and capability. Okay. Now, we also need to know about vendor life cycle. So basically what this means, guys, is no matter what kind of operating system or software or whatever you're using, there is a life cycle, which means there is a point that comes where they will stop updating it. They will stop patching the system. So if there are security vulnerabilities that have been found, they will stop releasing fixes to those security vulnerabilities because they have moved on to doing something else. Or they will stop updating the system altogether because they have moved on to something else. So you'll kind of be stuck with that last version. And generally, that's when you want to start thinking about upgrading. So, generally the journey is they introduce it, it starts to mature, and then it starts to decline because there's reduced support, there's limited updates, and eventually they stop updating altogether. When you get to this endpoint, you generally want to think about moving on to something else so that you can make sure your system is secure and is receiving consistent updates. It's unfortunate, but eventually, just like people, we all die one day. Software and devices and operating systems, also the support dies one day too. So, as I discussed, at the end of life, security updates stop, bug fixes stop, and you might have some compatibility issues. So you need to be ready to think about that. The final dot point for this exam objective is update limitations. Now, when we're talking about this, we need to know that at the end of the life cycle, right, we've got update limitations. That means we're not being updated. So again, we have these security risks. So if we have a security vulnerability that's been detected and we're no longer getting updates for that, that means anyone can use that well-known vulnerability and attack our system if they find out that we are using this OS device software that no longer is receiving patches. That's pretty much the key thing you need to know, really. Okay, pause that and read if you want. We already talked about all that. Now, your final question for this segment is, what is the primary risk of using a product that has passed its EOL? Is it A, it will become more expensive to use? Is it B, it will no longer be compatible with any other systems? Is it C, it will be more vulnerable to new security threats due to a lack of updates? Or is it D, it will be automatically deleted from your system? Pause the video. If you need more time, your answer coming in 3, in 2, in 1. It is C. It will be more vulnerable to new security threats due to a lack of updates. That's the key thing for your exam you need to know about. At the end of life, you're vulnerable to security threats. That's going to be the key threat. Is it going to be more expensive? Not necessarily. You don't need to pay for anything new. It could be more expensive in the sense that someone attacks you and hacks you, and now you have to pay somehow to fix that problem. All right. But the main thing is you're going to be more vulnerable to security threats. Okay. So, oh, sorry, I was wrong. There's one more. Operating system compatibility is the final dot point. Now it's actually final. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning here, guys. I'm doing this before work, so forgive me if I'm a bit loopy. So operating system compatibility, this one's pretty intuitive. You've just got to know that software or hardware is generally suited for one particular type of OS. So you just need to make sure that whatever it is you want to use is going to be compatible with your particular OS. Before you buy something, make sure it's compatible with your OS. Really, that's what this comes down to, truly. Different operating systems are designed with unique architectures that communicate with hardware and software in fundamentally different ways. So you just want to make sure your operating system is in fact compatible with whatever it is you want to purchase, install, etc. If you don't do that, you may find you have application crashes, you might have performance issues or missing features. Some features may not work. Okay, that's really what you need to know. We don't really need to know anything further than that, truly. We don't need to worry about the technical nitty-gritty side of stuff. I want to give you guys just what you need to know for your exam. Everything I've said so far on that should be enough to pass those questions. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to kind of skip through this because I've pretty much told you everything you need to know. Some extra details you can pause and have a look at if you want to, all right? Except for this one, if you want to get around it, right? Some things you could do is some software is created using languages and frameworks that work across multiple operating systems. So just check for that before you install it. Maybe that's the case. Virtualization, you can install virtual machines to use software that is not compatible. Like if you're using Windows, you can install a virtual machine and then install macOS on that virtual machine. And then you could use a software within that virtual machine. That's pretty much really like, that's some ways around it. Okay. But pretty much I've told you everything you need to know for it, really. Okay, don't worry about that. Now, guys, if you have enjoyed this course, right? If you've come from my 1201 course, you know this already. But if you've enjoyed this course, I have helped people previously pass the A+ Core 1 and A+ Core 2 over and over and over again. This is what people are saying. They're saying my 1102 and 1101 courses have helped this person pass their A+. This person saying they passed their A+ a few minutes ago, thanks to my help. This person sent me this email I showed you at the start, where they're saying the study information that I give in my learning guides and in my videos have helped them more than their whole time in high school. That one gave me warm, fuzzy feelings on the inside. This one says my learning guide is goated. They don't comment a lot, but my learning guide helps them with organized information. It helps them piece things together more easily. This person says that my learning guide, they could see it would help them immensely with studying as soon as they downloaded it. And this person says my notes definitely helped them pass their test. This one says they're moving on to their Network Plus after using my resources to pass. This one says they're moving on to their Core 2. You get the picture, right? So anyway, the reason I'm showing you this is because I have a Core 2 learning guide out now, an A+ Core 2 learning guide. With this, you get notes and practice questions. These screenshots are from the Core 1, but I just haven't updated it because I just want to give it to you before I start to fix up all my slides and stuff. But you've got the notes and practice questions broken down by exam objectives. You've got 3 practice exams as well for your Core 2. So not only do you have practice questions for every exam objective, you then have 3 randomized practice exams too. You also get a video showing you how to study using multiple choice questions, using a technique that not many people do and will help you so much. I really emphasize that you watch that video if you do get my course. Please don't skip it. You also get a video showing you how to use free AI tools for 10 times your learning. You also get a video showing you how to ace multiple choice questions, some special little hints and tips and tricks that you can use there for your exam. So if you want to grab that, you can go ahead and head over to journeytocyber.com/1202, not 1201 this time, but 1202. Or you can just check for the link in the pinned comment below or in the description below as well. All right, next time we're going to have a look at 1.2, but until then, guys, I'm going to leave you with this, and I will see you in the next video. Congratulations on passing your Core 1 if you have already, and I can't wait to help you pass your Core 2 as well. All right, bye, guys.